Welcome to the WACO Experience, an American story.
We, the people.
With your host, D. Scott Smith.
In order to form a more perfect union.
Interviews with leaders in business, government, and nonprofit organizations.
Promote the general welfare.
Jobs, products and services, and infrastructure for strong communities. Secure
the blessings of liberty.
The WACO Experience is an American story, a story of communities across America. It is your story.
We're a homegrown operation that's here locally. The Hagemans are a big part of the community. They work, live, play here. Having an opportunity to deploy their team right here in this community, I think, is super important. And it's been, I think, a real critical piece of how we have grown successfully. You know, right at the moment, the industry is really challenged with some business fundamentals that are getting lost, like proactive communication, timely response, honest delivery of services, you know, your promise, your handshake, if you will.
Today on the WACO Experience, an American story, we hear from Rick Bonds, Michelle Hageman, and Jared Hageman from Metro Elevator. Michelle and I met at a chamber event over at the Baylor Club. Remember when we used to watch movies on DVD and we had those extra segments on how the movie was made? Today we venture behind the scenes into the world of elevators. I'm your host, D. Scott Smith. You can learn more about this program and sponsors and find links to the podcast version of this program online at thewacoexperience.com. Our sponsors are the best. White Bluffs Construction, custom building, home remodeling, and I encourage you, call Seth at 254-227-2002 and schedule White Bluffs Construction to build your patio, deck, or pergola. Visit their website, whitebluffsconstruction.com. Monica Shannon of Texas Healthcare for You is who we turn to for help with healthcare insurance. Call her today at 254-339-3421. Visit the website, txhealthcareforyou.com. That's txhealthcare, the number 4 and the letter U.com. Biddy & Beau's Coffee offers hot and cold beverages, catering, and provides employment for people with disabilities. Visit Biddy & Beau's Coffee today at 110 Franklin in Waco. ChordBuddy is the world's best way to learn guitar. 100% U.S. made, this learning system will have you playing real music on a real guitar right away. Learn to play guitar today at ChordBuddy.com. Cactus Rose Ranch, young, old, or in between, learning how to work with a horse is confidence building. Cactus Rose Ranch offers individual lessons or monthly memberships. Contact them for riding lessons, ranch parties, horse boarding, and their nonprofit Healing Heroes with Horses. Online at thecactusroseranch.com. Well, D. Scott here, and today on the WACO Experience, an American story, we are back at the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce, and we are talking with the folks from Metro Elevator. And I was excited because this is my first time that I've ever talked to folks in an elevator business. We all ride in them. Michelle, let's start with you. Get an introduction.
I'm Michelle Hageman. I'm the Vice President for the Metro Elevator Waco Division. I've been in the elevator industry since 2008, and we just launched Metro Elevator in Waco back in May.
All right, and you brought a couple of friends with you.
I sure did. I brought Jared Hageman and Rick Bonds. Jared's our VP over operations here in the Waco division, and Rick Bonds is our president over the Texas division.
So let's get some words from Jared.
Jared Hageman, Vice President of Operations out of the Waco Metro Elevator office.
So tell us what operations means with Waco Elevator.
Customer service, getting the customers what they need when they want, and making sure the guys are happy. You know, our field mechanics, they're all IUEC trained mechanics. We got to make them happy. That way our customers stay happy.
Hey, I'm Rick Bonds, President of the Metro Elevator Texas divisions. It's 4 operating divisions here in the state of Texas. I've had the pleasure of knowing Michelle and working with her in a prior life. You know, super excited, obviously coming up on 1-year anniversary here for our launch in Waco, getting to know Jared and watching their organization grow and flourish for all the things that, you know, Jared spoke about. It really is all about the people first, and the field mechanics, you know, we take great care of them. They in turn take wonderful care of our customers, and we've just seen exceptional growth in Waco. Me personally, I've got 20 years in the industry. If I were to count my own, sometimes I laughingly say I have 45 years because I've grown up around this industry. Both my parents had a really wonderful career spanning nearly 45 years, and so it's all I've known. been excited to kind of see how we've, worked together in the past, come back together in a second chapter of our story, and watch Metro Elevator grow and flourish here in Texas.
All right, you can't just wash right past that past life without giving us a glimpse. What is that past life?
So out of college, I was in the landscape industry. My background was in the landscape architecture and development space, and I found out pretty quickly I couldn't draw, which will put a little bit of a snafu on a career that centers around that. But I loved being in the field. That part I really enjoyed. One, I'm an outdoor guy, so I just like to be outside. But I had, 7 years or so in the industry, learning business to business, customer transactions, how to just really tune in your ear and listen to what are customers saying they want. From that, then transitioned into the elevator space, and it's just been an incredible ride ever since. I've had the opportunity to work for 2 global firms, travel abroad, travel the nation, really getting to learn from some of the best and brightest in the business, and now having an opportunity to be a co-owner in an elevator company and building and recruiting best in industry talent.
All right, so with all this global travel, there's a little bit more glamour into elevators than we might have thought. That's good. We're going to learn a little bit more about that as we continue, but tell us a little bit more about the business.
As an elevator independent service provider, target audiences or verticals, really, it's anybody who has an elevator and has a need. A lot of times people say, grain elevators, which that would be the exception. But if you're a client in healthcare, higher education, commercial office, retail, hospitality, you likely have an elevator here in Waco that needs service, needs repair, needs code upgrades, might need long-range planning for improvements. We're a homegrown operation that's here locally. The Hagemans are a big part of the community. They work, live, play here. Connecting with them and having an opportunity to deploy their team right here in this community, I think, is super important. And it's been, I think, a real critical piece of how we have grown successfully in this first year. Right at the moment, the industry is really challenged with some business fundamentals that are getting lost, like proactive communication, timely response, honest delivery of services, your promise, your handshake, if you will. And I think they excel in that because, going back to my prior statement, they're so integrated in this community. So their brand really is more personal. It's Metro Elevator, of course, but it's really the Hagemans here in Waco. And so we want to make sure that we do excellence in all that we do, in growing this business.
Well, as they say, people do business with people. Michelle, tell us about how people get a hold of the company here locally.
Here locally, our office phone number is 254-551-1364. That will connect you with us here personally. Our website is metro-elevator.com/Waco.
So that's all pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward.
And when they call, what are they going to find out? What's going to happen? How are we going to get a hold of Jared, etc.?
You just ask for him. That's all you got to do.
Fair enough.
You ask for him, we'll put you straight through to him. There's not a whole automated people that you have to go through. When you call us, we answer and we deliver.
So why would people go with Metro Elevator as opposed to some of the big companies? Because I've been inside the elevators. I see the nameplate on there, and I know there are companies that sell those. They probably then install them and service them.
Correct.
Why come local?
The number one thing, we do what we say we're going to do. We promise something, we deliver on that promise. We make the communication factor is a huge deal here. We answer the phone. They're not going to have to wait 2-3 business days to get a resolution to what their issue is. We want to resolve it immediately and make the customer happy.
Rick goes over there. He's raised his hand. He's just like,
pick me.
Please. Yeah, put me in, coach.
I would say, having grown up around this industry, again, as I was talking about earlier, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be an independent elevator company. I mean, there's some industry dynamics happening right now that are just making it favorable for a company like Metro Elevator to thrive. And it's the business fundamentals. We talked about that. It's not rocket science. It's not overly complicated. It's just doing what you say you're going to do. Right at the moment, I think, and I would never, be caught like disparaging our competition, but I just think that bigger companies are focused on different things than we are. And I think that we're really focused on making it a personal experience, making sure that what we say and what we deliver on is meeting and exceeding the needs of your business, such that not only are you going to come back to us, but you're going to tell people in your circle of influence about us. And that has literally been the story of how the WACO division has grown so exponentially in this first year.
So let's go over to Jared, and let's talk about kind of a day in the life.
So my life has changed dramatically from my past life to now being an owner of Metro Waco. A day in the life of an elevator mechanic running a route or a modernization job or a new installation is slightly different than the day in the life of me now. The phone starts early. The elevator industry never stops. It's 24/7. My phone, I get joked all the time, and my ringtone is extremely loud on my phone, and there's a reason why. Rick speaks to how the business has grown, and that ringtone being loud is a lot of why. That phone gets answered 24/7.
My wife and I were living in an apartment building that had one elevator. When we were looking at the different apartments to move into, and it was a 5-story building, one on the second floor was available, and I said, let's take that one because when the elevator doesn't work, we only have one flight to go, right? So talk about that response time. When people are living in buildings or working in buildings, multiple floors, and we've got those here in Waco, if the elevator is out, it's a bad day for that person.
Metro Waco, we have, contract customers and non-contract customers, and, response times can vary from company to company. We as a whole, we take every customer to heart, whether it's a contract or non-contract. Our response times can vary, within 5 to 10 minutes if we're right down the road, or within an hour. But the good thing about it is you will have a person to talk to that will communicate with you, and you will know instantly within seconds of your phone call of what to expect.
Rick, let's come back to you and talk about the history of Metro Elevator. How did that all get started, and how did you get involved? You mentioned you were in landscaping, and now you're in elevator work, although I will say it seemed to be part of the family business.
It is very much family business. So I'll back up a little bit to the storyboard of our CEO, Nate McFadden, who founded this company with a vision. Coming out of the Marine Corps as an officer, he was recruited by one of the global competitors and went to work there, had an incredible career, thrived and grew through the organization, and then went to a second global group and was recruited there. It was in the latter stages of working for that second company that he was approached by a broker that said, I know a company in Michigan that wants to sell an elevator company, but they don't want to sell to one of the big firms. And at the time, our CEO didn't have the means, or even, to hear him say it, even the knowledge to understand how do you buy a business. But he's an incredibly sharp and incredibly driven individual, and so he went and used his resources and found out a way to pull some money together and buy a small independent company in Michigan. Grew it substantially and sold it a couple of years later, and then sort of birthed this parent company of ours, which is Elevated Technologies, Inc., ETI. So the story now for Metro would go back 4 years ago. We had an opportunity at some significant business in New York. ETI's primary goal is to focus on federal government because they have more elevators than anybody. When you think about military bases, you think about VA hospitals, and that's been a particular focus of ours. But we needed a commercial arm in New York and could not seem to find the right fit. And so this idea was born to just start, of all places, Manhattan, start an elevator company where there's more elevator companies than you can shake a stick at. But we launched there 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, with a gentleman named Ryan Craven. So he was Metro employee number 1. And he was he's a friend of mine, but he's also a colleague that I've worked with for many years in a prior life. Ryan introduced me to Nate, our CEO, some years back. I think Nate and I have been talking for 3.5 years now. Over the course of this time, it's been an opportunity where I've sat back and watched Nate hire all my friends across the country, and I've wanted to play a role and be a part of that. So my career continued on, and I made some strategic moves, and then Nate decided, hey, we're ready to do something big in Texas. And as all that's coming together, I find out that we're launching WACO. Michelle's in the picture. probably a month before I'm on board, and it was kind of fun, bringing our stories back together. And now we've launched successfully in four markets total in Texas. So we're, as an organization now, we're in 15 markets. We just announced Des Moines, Iowa, and we've got another big announcement that just was released in Florida. As we continue to grow, customers will either pull us into markets or we'll identify talent such as the Hagemans and then build a business around them. That last point I would just want to, emphasize is our business model is to greenfield, and what that would mean to someone that didn't understand that terminology is we're no longer really looking at buying businesses. We go invest in top tier talent and then build a business around them, because we just believe that strong folks like the Hagemans are going to recruit the right field mechanics, the right customers, and they're going to build a really nice business.
This is a very encouraging story. So in light of a lot of businesses that I've talked to or heard about saying the economy is tough, you guys are growing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get toward the end and start looking toward the future. But that's a good story. You're growing, you're expanding, you're not just acquiring new companies, but you're looking, or existing companies, but you're looking at starting it from scratch, looking at basically at the talent. You also mentioned things like the VA. And I've been over to the Doris Miller VA medical facility there. Those elevators are ancient. And I love to swing over to Jared and talk about finding parts, because I'm no elevator connoisseur, but I've had the opportunity to travel in a few different units, from the new hotels that are coming in here to over at the VA. What's it like when you got such a variety of ages, makes? Jared, what's going on?
It's tough. There's typically been 5 elevator manufacturers in the United States for a very long time, 50, 60 years. And a lot of these companies they've gone away from supporting any old equipment because they want to support their new equipment. But the plus side to this is the third-party market has been strong. They have responded over the years. Third-party parts for a lot of old antiquated equipment is there. You can get your hands on it. You can fix some of this stuff that is no longer supported by a manufacturer.
Michelle, let's come over to you and talk about your journey into this and your family's entrance into the elevator world.
Well, I'm kind of like Rick. I was kind of born into it. My father owns an electric motor company in the Dallas area, and so I kind of grew up going to work for him, learning the ins and outs of generators, motors. He rebuilds all that kind of stuff, but decided that was a little bit too boring for me. I wanted to branch out a little bit more. So he introduced me to some people in the elevator industry. That was in 2008. So I started there, and I actually started out for a smaller independent company, and then I met Rick when I transitioned over to a cab interior company that I wanted to test out and see if I liked it there. And I called on him, and that's when I met him for any projects they had coming up. And then I moved over to a major who moved me out to the Waco area. They also moved Jared with me. And then we were offered this opportunity here to start our own, and it's just been wildly successful.
And Jared, what's your thought on being an owner? And
it's in my blood. And entrepreneurship is just in my blood. My father owned several car dealerships when I was a child in the East Texas region in Dallas-Fort Worth. And so I've always just had that in me. Right out of high school, I started a excavation business, dirt work, road construction, pond construction, house pads. Grew it substantially, and kind of wanted to change paths, around 2011. And so I kind of backed off, sold a bunch of that stuff off, changed my path, and Michelle and I grew up together as children and young, and ultimately ended up getting married, and we've been married now going on our 11th year. It's great. I thrive in the entrepreneur attitude, it just dealing with the customers, dealing with people, handling business the way it should be, and getting away from the corporate America is what I feel is the best thing. And ultimately, I think the world needs to get back to that state.
Well, it's always been the entrepreneurs that have been able to react quickly and make changes, provide a lot of jobs. My heart is definitely with the entrepreneur and with the small business. And as we start to look at the future, Jared, I want to stay with you and talk about some of the technology that's going into elevators today. And what does the future look like? I'm thinking Wonka elevator, by the way. Go ahead.
Elevator industry as a whole was very lagging, with technology for a number of years. And so they're trying to catch back up to technology, and they're doing it at a rapid pace. Some of the major manufacturers will manufacture an equipment and put it in your building, and in 3 years you're getting an obsolescent letter that it's no longer supported. That's because of the technology that they're changing and trying to move forward. The sky's the limit with elevators. I mean, it's down to some of the craziest things you can imagine with security purposes, touchless buttons, talking to your elevator, using your phone. There's some of it's all out there.
Yeah, I was thinking there's got to be an app for that. So, Rick, let's talk about some of the things that you're seeing, specifically artificial intelligence. That's one of the key items that's on top of everyone's mind. Where's that going?
Yeah, I think that the changes like Jared was just talking about, a lot of it's experiential. So how you use your phone through security protocols to access an elevator. Maybe you're a VIP and you can call a phone or call an elevator through your phone, or even Bluetooth, maybe just proximity, and it's already getting an elevator for you. I've seen those level of services. Some buildings getting away from physical touch buttons in favor of other means. So there's a lot of new technologies that are coming in. But as far as AI algorithms on how we move populations through buildings, we're seeing more and more of that interface in the back end systems. I mean, the customers wouldn't really see it; they would just be a benefactor of the technology. For all intents and purposes, I think Jared said it. The elevator industry is, at least in the U.S., has been a little bit lagging in some of the adoption of technologies we've seen in other spaces. But we're seeing it come in quite a bit. A lot of aesthetics and features, push buttons, screens in cabs, back walls that are interactive mirrors. I mean, in New York, there's entirely interactive cabs, like at One World Trade Center, the Freedom Tower. You ride that. It's got timeline, digital display.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to ride in the Freedom Tower.
That's
what I was thinking of as soon as you mentioned that. I was thinking of that display, and as you do, you actually see the changes in the New York Manhattan
right. That's right.
skyline.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But at the end of the day, like the box still shows up, the doors open, you get in, it takes you to your floor. So it's all about what do you do for that experience and that lag time. We've all become accustomed to just staring at our phones, and so how do you, especially in taller buildings, create an experience where people aren't, impatient waiting on the elevator or taking the elevator to their space. But, in Waco, we're just focused on making sure we get the best reliable service for the elevators here. And absent certain technologies, we just want to make sure that it's reliable service and responsive service.
And Michelle, let's talk about local here. What's going on with the company?
We strategically hire here. We really do our research on who we are interested in bringing to our team. We want to make sure that they're going to be someone that is a team player, someone that is customer focused, customer driven. That's how we're going to grow in this type of community, is word of mouth, being involved with the community, sponsoring local events, things like that. So we really want someone that's going to be a team player, be involved with everything that we've got going on, someone who's willing to learn and wear more than one hat.
We hire IUEC members for the field technicians.
And so what's IUEC?
The IUEC is the International Union of Elevator Constructors. So we are a signatory to the IUEC company. All of our field technicians are certified. They go through a school training program of 5 years, and then they take a test at the end for your mechanic's license, basically, with the state, the IUEC. So that's kind of how we hire, our field technicians. We have to go through them.
So if someone was coming out of high school,
right,
Texas State Technical College, maybe.
So you would research basically the IUEC in your area, which here locally out of Waco is out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's Local 21. They have open enrollment every 2 years. So you would basically just sign up, fill out an application. Once you do that, then you go through a series of tests. You take like a small little aptitude test, an interview, and then they kind of grade you and they score you and they put you on the list when companies call needing to hire people. That's kind of how it works. So if you're coming out of high school, little technical college, and you think elevators is your thing, you contact the IUEC and they'll get you fixed up.
In riding in elevators, it gives me comfort to know that there's a comprehensive training program for the people servicing them.
There is, and the state of Texas does not require any licensing as of right now, but I can tell you it's probably going to happen in the state with licensing for elevator technicians. There's some bills being thrown around, and they went, I know there was a big meeting yesterday down at the Capitol in Texas over it. Our IUEC local representative, David Lopez, heads that up. Great guy. It's a great industry for a young person to get into. Right out of high school, it's very promising.
So let's come over to Rick and let's wind it up with you. Let's get your final thoughts and some inspiration, because I do love your perspective. I love to see what's going on with a business that's growing, providing opportunities for great jobs for people.
Well, I think it's fun. I was just considering the fact that it's their 11th year being married. It's his 40th birthday today. And we're coming up on the 1 year.
And my gift to you is that I will not sing happy birthday.
and we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of Metro being in Texas, which started right here in Waco. Fun fact: Michelle, Jared were employees 1 and 2. I was 3. We were all kind of in similar conversations, but it was fun to look back. We're about to have our Team Texas meeting here in May. So when I came aboard, there were 3 employees. By the time we have this meeting, we'll be pushing 25 plus. And it's just been exceptional. And our CEO, Nate, says it best. We want to be a destination employer. We want to create an environment where people want to come work and have wonderful opportunities to flourish, grow a great career, learn. We talk about sharpening one another all the time, that iron sharpens iron, and I believe that Jared's experiences make me better. I hope I impart something on him, and we have this belief across our company in Texas and outside of Texas. As we continue to grow, we're going to constantly be looking for talent, but the beautiful thing is the talent's calling us. They're calling saying, hey, you're growing, we're hearing the great things, we want to come be a part of that story. And so all in due time, as we continue to strategically grow, as Michelle said, we're going to have the right folks that we can make sure we deliver to our customers.
And what's your general outlook for business and economic
incredibly
here in Central Texas?
Incredibly optimistic. There's always going to be headwinds of some sort, whether it's tariffs, whether it's a whole litany of other things. My vision is control the controllable. Our attitudes, our approach to the business, the things we literally tangibly have control over, how we respond to customers, how we make ourselves available to solve problems, that's all well within our control. And despite headwinds, that will enable us to continue to march forward. You talked about elevator upgrades and things like that. The entirety of the U.S. installed base of elevators is at an incredibly high watermark of needing capital upgrades. And coming out of COVID, people were kind of concerned about, well, do I make investments, or is population coming back to the buildings? So there's still some of that ebb and flow happening. But as people come back and owners want to invest in their equipment, it's creating opportunities for us. It goes back to what I said earlier. Where the majors are taking their business is creating an abundance of opportunity for independents like ours, and with a lot of equipment that needs upgrades and maintenance and the like, it's a perfect opportunity for us.
The WACO Experience, an American Story, is a production of D. Scott Smith Company, all rights reserved. Thank you for listening.